Good morning, it's Lisa with Lisa Heal Yourself, and today I want to talk about some practical tips for overwhelming constant symptoms or setbacks or crashes or anything like that. So when this becomes your reality and you're having overwhelming symptoms, one of the most practical tips that you can do is to stop multitasking, to do one thing at a time. And I know a lot of you are saying, well, I'm not multitasking. I'm basically not even hardly doing anything. But I think that you will find if you examine that that's probably not true. So usually I would come out for a walk and I would also listen to a podcast or listen to an audiobook. But that is multitasking. You're listening and walking at the same time. So one of the things that you want to do is really become conscious of the things that you're doing while you're doing them. So if I come out for a walk, and I say you should do them in like half an hour blocks or even 15-minute blocks, whatever, you feel up to. So if you're coming out for a 15-minute block of walking or a 20-minute block or a half an hour block, you're going slow. You're conscious of the day, of the feeling of the sun on your face, of the sounds around you, of the birds, and you're not multitasking by trying to do brain retraining or trying to meditate or trying to listen to a book or anything else. You're literally doing one activity and becoming conscious. One of the most important things is becoming conscious of your activities before, during, and after. So before you go on your walk, you just take note. Just do a quick, how am I feeling? Not obsessing on anything, not really delving in or noting a lot of things, just an overall, how am I going right now? Okay, I'm going to go try this, small walk. And then you're conscious the whole time you're doing it. Now, being conscious, it helps you stay in the moment. So it really is just an all-day meditation, right? A state of mindfulness that you're trying to achieve, which is helpful for your nervous system in many ways. One, it's helpful because you're teaching your body you only have to do one thing. You don't have to multitask. You are only doing one thing. It's a very mindful, and that teaches your nervous system, believe it or not, that it can relax, that it can go into the parasympathetic state rather than sympathetic state. So it's brain retraining, actually. So you want to remind your brain that you're safe, and by doing only one thing, this is a communication to the nervous system. The other thing that it can do is to help you be conscious of how you're feeling. Is this walk making your symptoms worse? Is it making everything worse? Or do you feel slightly better? How is it actually feeling? And then when you're done at the end of your 15, 20, or half an hour block, you stop that activity and you just take note. How do I feel? Was that too much for me? Was that good? Did I feel good up to a certain point? Was 10 minutes better? And then it started to get worse. You can really see and assess what's happening without putting too much focus on it or really trying to, you don't want to overly manage this, just a noticing, right? It also helps you become aware of thoughts or feelings that rise up, feelings or anything that wants to be felt. You're there to feel it. You're not distracted by a podcast. You're not distracted by something else. So then at the end of your block, if you're doing 15-minute blocks, at the end of that 15 minutes, you'll stop. You'll take note. You'll take a quick inventory. How do I feel? And then you'll do nothing for 15 minutes. Just meditating, just sitting, just resting, just relaxing. Take notice. Does that make things worse? Does that make things better? Really just tuning in to ourselves and resting, relaxing, and giving yourself a full break. So if you're doing a 20-minute block, then it's a 20-minute rest. If you're doing half an hour blocks, then it's a half an hour of resting. That could look like drinking a tea, right? Because we're doing one thing at a time. If you're drinking a tea, then you sit and you brew your tea, you make your tea, you sit, you drink your tea, and you do that for the next 15-minute block. It's a resting. Okay, it's also conscious drinking, conscious eating. We're aware of the taste, we're aware of the smell, we're aware of what's going into our body, how it feels. We can connect with the food. How does this food make us feel? How does this make us feel, right? In a soothing way. We're not overly trying to investigate the symptoms. We're just being mindful of our state and our body. Then you go into something else. You're like, okay, do I need more rest? You ask yourself, do I need another half an hour block of something easy or another 20-minute block of something easy? Or can I try another activity? So then maybe you're like, okay, I have to do some dishes or I have to do some laundry. So you set a timer, you do your 20-minute block or 15-minute block. You're consciously only doing that thing. You're not also listening to a podcast or listening to the news in the background or, trying to do a million things at once. You're doing the dishes. You're feeling the water on your hand. You're connecting with the task that you're doing. You're doing it in a mindful way. You're doing it in a slow way. You're slowing your body down. You're reassuring your mind that you only need to do one thing. This is a very good communication. Then at the end, you rest for the same amount of time, doing just a restful activity. Maybe now you want to listen to something. So you sit down and you listen to it. You give yourself permission to sit down and listen to it. Not, oh, I have to listen to it while I'm folding laundry or while I'm doing dishes. Because a lot of times that is a form of distraction. We're doing that because we don't want to sit with ourselves. We don't want to sit with the sensations and we don't want to sit with the feelings. But we're missing our opportunity to become aware of ourselves and our own body. So if we can do one activity at a time, we do the laundry. And then when we're done, we sit for the next 20 minutes and listen to our audiobook. By doing one thing at a time, we can see, is this audiobook making me feel worse? Is it negative in any way? Is it, maybe I shouldn't be listening to these kinds of content. Maybe you switch to something different, right? You can actually see how you feel, but you're giving yourself the time to just consume information, because information consuming is a task. And so if you're trying to do something as you're information consuming at the same time, your body goes into a fight or flight response because it is multitasking. It's taking in, evaluating, and processing information as it's trying to walk or as it's trying to do laundry or as it's trying to do a task. Now, if you're further along on your journey or you're not in chronic symptoms constantly, or not in a flare or a setback or a crash or whatever it is, then you can handle maybe a lot more. Maybe you can handle doing two things at once. But the reality is, when you're like this, you should do one thing at a time. It gives you time to tune into your body, and then you take the same amount of time rest, and then you try something new, and then you take the rest, and then you do something new. So an active activity, then a restful activity, then an active activity, a restful activity, and so on. And so this is probably one of the best tips that I can give you, is to become conscious and mindful throughout your day, right? Tune into yourself, your mind, your emotions, your body. Don't distract with too many tasks at once. And to break your timing up into different manageable time blocks where you're literally only doing one thing at a time, so that you can become conscious, because you can't be conscious when you're doing more than one thing at a time. And it sends a signal to your body that you are in the stress state. So I hope that this video has been really helpful. You will learn something for this. If you can set timers throughout your day in 15, 20 minute or half an hour blocks and try this. You will notice a difference by the end of the week, because you will notice how you're feeling. You will communicate to your body a slower, conscious pace, and you will be helping yourself on many levels. So I hope this video has been helpful. Oh, and I just want to say that I should not be doing this video and walking. That's exactly what I'm talking about. I either sit and do the video or I walk, but because everyone's home with COVID, I can only do this video outside today. So I probably should have sat still and did it and then walked after. This is the type of little difference, little nuance that really makes a huge difference. So hopefully you give this a try.